And welcome to the release of our second annual Hawaii Pork Report by the Grassroot Institute of Hawaii and Citizens Against Government Waste. For the first time ever, we are live webcasting this press conference at newmediatv.org. So hello to all of our viewers across the country. I'll keep this brief, but just to give you a quick background, last year was the first year that the Grassroot Institute partnered with Citizens Against Government Waste in publishing Hawaii's first ever pork report. It details waste, fraud, and abuse of government expenditures of taxpayer dollars at the local and state level here in Hawaii. Later on, you'll hear from David Williams of Citizens Against Government Waste, which produced the first ever and the only congressional pork report. But we've decided to replicate that here at the state level in Hawaii. I think with Furlough Fridays, with the record state budget shortfall, this is as relevant as a time as ever to provide lawmakers with real-life examples of areas where they can cut the budgets, and also to give taxpayers the intellectual ammunition so that they can successfully challenge the status quo. So, Senator Sloan. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Just a mahalo to the Grassroot Institute for the publication of this report, and also to the Citizens Against Government Waste. You know, right now we're debating the budget, and we're debating a remaining $1.2 billion shortfall. And one of the reasons we have a shortfall is because we have waste. And organizations like the Grassroot Institute and others have pointed out the waste, the fraud, and the abuse. But my colleagues in this building who are meeting right now are not interested in that. What they're basically interested in doing is continuing the spending, increasing taxes, fees, surcharges, and special funds. That doesn't get the job done. Well, with no offense to the other white meat, I think that what we're really doing in our state here is adding to direct cholesterol for everybody. It's harmful, it's wasteful, there are ways to do it, but my colleagues are not going to listen until the public speaks up, and the only chance they have to do that is going to be in the November elections.
This year's pork report actually details more than $300 million in waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer dollars here in Hawaii. From Washington, D.C., the Vice President of Policy of Citizens Against Government Waste, who has been a great asset to the Grassroot Institute of Hawaii in undertaking this year's pork report. So please welcome David Williams.
Thank you, and thank you, Jamie. Before I get started, I want to explain a little bit who Citizens Against Government Waste is and really why we're here. Citizens Against Government Waste is the offshoot of the Grace Commission. The Grace Commission was an effort in the mid-1980s to go through the federal budget and look for every instance of government waste. At times that meant making programs more efficient. Other times it meant eliminating programs. You may remember the $600 toilet seat, the $400 hammer. Those were findings of the Grace Commission. 26 years later, we're doing that same job as Citizens Against Government Waste. You've raised taxes. You've raised taxes way too many times. And then you have Furlough Fridays, when the governor asked each agency to cut 10%. The Department of Education's first response was not to educate children. That makes no sense. And I'm so glad that we were able to include a large portion of the pork report dedicated to education, so you can see that you can cut spending without affecting programs.
We've identified about $30 million in potential savings, relatively easy cuts that could be made in the Department of Education. We saw a line in the city of Honolulu, in the county of Honolulu's Department of Transportation budget, $404.5 million for only 25 employees. That's over $4 million per employee. Now, perhaps there's a good explanation for that, but they certainly didn't provide it to us upon being asked. So we do hope that the viewers and listeners will follow up with the mayor of Honolulu and even with the governor to see if she can help us find the answer to our question.
You have $7,000 paid to a third-party contractor to actually shred documents. You know, that's $7,000 that could have gone to kids in schools for new textbooks, you know, maybe new supplies, something else that they don't have to be reading out of something outdated.
Yeah, I need one more. If you need any more copies, just email or contact.
Okay.
There are ways to do it, but my colleagues are not going to listen until the public speaks up, and the only chance they have to do that is going to be in the November election.
Fiscal notes. This is something that's been instituted across the country in every state except Hawaii.
Thank you all so much for being here. We really hope that our state legislators and our city and county council members will really take this court report to heart. And next time they say they've already cut all of the waste out of their state and county budgets, we as taxpayers can hand them a court report and say, no, you haven't, and here's some ideas where you can do that. So thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye. Aloha.